Hi, this is Prasant. Glad to talk to you today about sound and silence being essentially the same thing. Sound and silence are essentially one and the same. And don't be confused by sound. Don't be confused that sound is different and separate from silence, but that it's actually itself silence. The source of every sound is the silence from which it came. That's the truth of the reality of what that is. It's very easy to see this simply by noticing the sound of my voice begins with a silence, and then from that silence comes a sound, which is talking for some reason. And then it goes and falls away into the silence. And then it starts talking again. So it's a mystery, but it is happening. So similarly in our experience, whatever experiences arise, they arise from perfect silence. Silence, again, is just a word that we use for our nature, a part of our nature that we're not usually paying attention to, you could say. And once it is properly paid attention to and understood and seen for what it is, which is what we are, then it comes forward from the background, you could say, or foreground, or wherever it decides to come from. It's usually the background, but it comes up and radiates into the entire field of experience as our self, and becomes reclaims, you could say, helps us to realize again what we have always been and will continue to be, regardless of whatever is happening in our experience, like sound or any experience, physical, emotional, mental, or even mystical or spiritual. All of those are coming from the pure presence or pure silence, which has no quality, no specific quality, other than just being, which is what we're all already doing. So that quality is the quality of everything we experience, so it doesn't take anything to have to be that. So similarly, when we look at sound, all of the sounds have the quality of silence. Without the silence, you'd not be able to hear the sound. There's so many sounds, aside from sounds that you can hear, very, very subtle. So all of those are arising from the silence. And we can begin to appreciate begin by, since I'm talking about music, I emphasize sound. So you begin by appreciating and understanding the nature of sound, which is ultimately the nature of everything that is. And understanding that sound is made of a silence that is completely free of any definitions and qualities, then we find everything to be that case. That is the case for everything. And feeling that and seeing that, and that gives a certain sense of freedom. It begins to allow you to just be yourself as you are, without really any qualifications to give yourself or anything at all, really, other than whatever is naturally happening. So how do you discover this one component that I think some people may have a little bit harder time with, which is how do you feel the reality, understand on multiple levels, understanding it intellectually first, perhaps on a feeling level, and then ultimately just being that which you have already been. So a good example is that the ocean and the waves are very similar. At the top of the ocean, you have many different kinds of waves that can have any kind of quality, and the source of that is a vast ocean that is extremely deep, and at the depths is very still and largely unmoving. So, but that all of that is permeated with the water. That's the substance that makes up the entire ocean, whether it's still, whether it's moving, like the waves. So this is a very common example, but it's a very, very good one. So I like to use this. So the waves that are crashing and extremely, powerful. It just occurred to me I've done another video on this, so you can, just in a different context, of course. But I was actually at a body of water and talked about it. So the entire experience in that ocean, everything is completely filled with the water, whether it's the source, stillness, or the movement. That can be extremely, it can be anything. It can be really violent, it can be very calm. So similarly, if you look at the sound, it's permeated by that silence. That's what gives rise to the sound. And you could also you could use a different word. You could say it's just the presence, just the beingness, whatever word you want to use for it is fine. Doesn't really have to be any particular way. Because whatever this is this presence or the silence is just simply a way that we're using to describe what the essential original nature that we are, what that is, which we can't say. So that's why there's all these different words, that highlight various aspects of what that is. So if you look in all these various spiritual traditions, they also will, the deities and the gods and saints and sages, they usually have, thousands of names to describe them, or hundreds at least. There's usually like at least 108, or maybe 1,008. So that's because the essential nature of what they are is something you can experience but cannot describe, because it's so vast and limitless. Our nature is completely limitless, and that makes it infinitely enjoyable and infinitely fun. Just being that is all we need to do, and we don't even need to do that. So enjoy. Thank you. We'll end this with just the sound, so you can really feel this for yourself.